Welcome to B-Schooled, a podcast by Stacy Blackman Consulting, bringing you tips, advice, and insight into all aspects of the MBA admissions process and business school experience. And now, here's your host, writer, author, and Harvard MBA, who's been an MBA admissions consultant for over a decade, Erica Olson.
Hi there, everyone. Wharton interview invitations are coming out this week on February 11th, and so I thought this would be a great episode to speak with my Stacy Blackman Consulting colleague, Anthony Penna. Anthony spent 10 years with the Wharton School, working in both career management and as part of the admissions committee for the full-time MBA program as an associate director, where he reviewed and interviewed thousands of applicants. And during his time there, Anthony actually served on the implementation and design team for the team-based discussion, which is what Wharton still uses for their interview method. And so this is now Anthony's fourth season with Stacy Blackman Consulting as an MBA admissions consultant. Thank you so much for joining us, Anthony.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It's great to be here.
All right. So to kick things off and maybe, I guess, provide a little bit of context before we get into the interview specifically, can you just tell us a little bit about, what you think makes Wharton different from other top programs?
Yes. Wharton is one of the oldest business schools in the U.S. and has one of the most unique and flexible curriculums out of all of the top business schools. While Wharton is typically known as a finance school, they have invested many new resources into other areas of focus, such as entrepreneurship with the launch of Tangent Hall and technology with their emphasis of having campuses on both the East and West coasts and allowing their full-time MBA students to spend a semester in San Francisco. Wharton is also a highly collaborative and team-based program as represented in their cluster, cohort, and learning team model. And they even use teamwork as part of their evaluation method with the team-based discussion, which we will talk about today.
Yeah, and kind of as a follow-up to that, before we get into, the interview specifically, I'm sure our listeners would love an overview of kind of what Wharton is looking for in applicants overall.
Yeah, Wharton is looking, for a couple of things as they evaluate applicants in terms of fit with the program. One of the things they're looking for is leadership potential. Have you had the opportunity to take on projects or initiatives that you were able to lead? And what was the impact of that experience? They will use these experiences and examples to determine what type of impact you will have on your classmates, as well as the bigger Wharton community. Wharton is also an analytically rigorous program, so they'll be looking for ways for you to demonstrate your analytical skills, using things like your undergraduate major and GPA, your quant score on the GMAT or GRE, as well as your work experience. Wharton also puts a large emphasis on your ability to collaborate and be a strong team player, which is emphasized in their essays, as well as the recommendation letters and interview process.
All right. Well, that's a good segue. Let's talk about that interview process. So can you set up for our listeners, how it's run, just what the general format is, just to kind of orient everyone and who's running the show during the interview? And then, of course, can you cover how I guess it would normally be run? And then, of course, how things had to change this past year due to COVID?
Yeah, the team-based discussion, or TBD as you will hear it referred to, is meant to model the highly collaborative nature of the Wharton MBA environment, to identify characteristics like communication style, level of engagement, leadership skills, and decision-making, which Wharton believes contributes to a successful MBA student. This is an opportunity for you to express who you are as an individual and as a member of a functioning team. The TBD is 35 minutes in length and provides an opportunity for you to interact with 5 to 6 fellow MBA applicants in a lively team setting. Your discussion will have a prompt and a purpose, and as a team, you'll work together to achieve a tangible outcome. The teams are randomly assigned based on the slot that you sign up for, but are meant to represent the diverse nature of a Wharton learning team. There are 3 parts to the TBD that all need to take place within the 35-minute timeline. A 1-minute pitch for each participant, the bigger group discussion on the prompt, and a formal presentation at the end of the discussion. Time management is up to the group, so you will need to create a strategy around using a 35 minutes to make sure that you are addressing all of these points. Following the team-based discussion, you will have a one-on-one blind interview, which will be 10 minutes in length. The interviews are conducted by AdCom or highly trained second-year students who are referred to as admissions fellows. Typically, each group of 5 or 6 will have 2 interviewers present during the discussion. This year, all the TBDs will be conducted virtually due to the pandemic. Historically, most interviews took place at Wharton's main campus in Philadelphia, where the admissions fellows conducted the group discussions, and the AdCom traveled to larger hub cities, both internationally and domestically, including their campus in San Francisco. The interviews were conducted in the same manner, no matter where you chose to interview. The biggest benefit to interviewing on campus was to participate in the other activities Wharton provided to get to know the community better, like visiting a class and having lunch with current MBA students. The virtual sessions will replicate the same process you would have received at an in-person location.
So that's great. Thank you so much for kind of that overview. Now let's get into what I'm really excited to hear about from you. Just give us some insight on why Wharton kind of uses this very unique interview format.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was, with Wharton when they launched the team-based discussion and, served on the team that helped design and implement this format. So it was many years in the making before officially launching in 2012. Wharton had used both fit and behavioral interviews in its evaluation process and was finding that similar decisions could have been made without the interview, as it wasn't providing any new insight into a candidate's background or potential in an MBA program than what the written application had said. As we thought about the unique aspects of the Wharton program, the collaboration and team emphasis was a constant theme, and so we worked towards creating an interview process that would allow us to better understand how someone performs in a team setting. We worked with experts to better understand how to use this interview model in an impactful way for the admissions process and what to look for when evaluating candidates. We piloted with current Wharton students to see how the exercise would run and tweaked the prompts to offer a better jumping off point, to create a more robust conversation among the groups. It was great to see that the format was working as an admissions tool and was providing new insights into each candidate and that we weren't getting from the written application. Wharton has continued using this model ever since.
Yeah, no, I find that fascinating. So thanks for that background there. And now just a really, specific question that I just get all the time. And I know it's something that kind of stresses a lot of applicants out when they get an interview invitation. Does it matter when somebody kind of goes in the cycle? Like, does it matter if somebody, especially with invitations coming out this week, does it matter if somebody chooses one of the first interview days or one of the last? Like, does that play into decisions at all, or should people have any kind of strategy to picking an interview date?
So no, there's no real, benefit of going earlier or waiting until later for you to complete your TBD. Wharton will typically build in a couple of days, if not a full week, before the first TBDs will take place to give everyone enough time to prepare. Someone always has to go first in this process. So Wharton won't begin conducting its, post-interview reads of the applications until after all interviews are complete. So everyone will have the opportunity to complete their TBD before they start reviewing applications. Wharton typically releases all interview invitations on the same day that they list on their website, and people are able to sign up for a slot as soon as invitations are received. So I do encourage clients not to necessarily wait to sign up after that they are invited, because the slots will fill up quickly, but that's more so just so that you have some flexibility with your schedule. With the virtual TBDs, Wharton will be offering a variety of time slots, to hopefully meet the needs of all applicants, no matter where you may live around the world.
Okay, so let's say, people are one of the lucky ones to get an invitation this week. How would you advise applicants to prepare for the TBD portion of the interview?
Yeah, the TBD is interesting because it's new to most people in terms of an interview model, but it actually requires less preparation than a traditional interview, as there are so many unknowns, as things can change quickly depending on who your teammates are. So it becomes hard to over-prepare for. Wharton MBA admissions will provide all applicants with the necessary details and the prompt that will be used in advance of your scheduled interview time. From there, you should focus on your past experiences in a team setting and what skills, techniques, and typical roles that you have played and that have resonated well in this type of setting. Adaptability is really important. Be comfortable with the typical roles that you may play in a team, but know that it may change based on someone else in the group who may jump in first to claim that role, and that you need to be able to react and not let change like that fluster you during the process. Be yourself and know that there is no right or wrong answer. The evaluators want to see that you've prepared for the interview, but you're not necessarily being evaluated on just the words that you speak or the ideas that you give. It's really based on the actions you take throughout the team-based discussion.